Top of the morning, top of the morning. I'm talking about really top of the morning, you know what I mean? I got the coffee in the hand. What's good, y'all? I ain't got my mic piece right now, but I'm pretty sure y'all can hear me clear. Whoo-wee, light and sweet. Now, I mean, hey, yo, I got a different video for y'all today. So first, what I want to talk about is how to sign your dog's papers. Let me fix that up real quick. Let me rewind that up real quick. You know what I mean? How to fill out your dog's papers. You know what I mean? How to send it to your name if you bought a dog. You know what I mean? If you had a litter. How to register your dog. You know what I mean? It's very, very easy, my friend. It's very, very easy. You know what I mean? You got two choices. You can either do it by paper or you could go online. You know what I mean? I like to do it both. You feel me? So I'm gonna explain that a little more. Now I'm gonna get deep into it. Then I'm gonna show y'all this binder right here is nothing but dog's papers right here and contracts. You know what I mean? Like, you have to keep it stored. Like, listen, it's very, very important to have this on file. Everything. I had the vet's records and stuff like that, but I don't care no more because I could always go to my vet and get that all printed out. You know what I mean? So I don't keep the vet records no more. You know what I mean? So in here, what I got is just basically dog papers. Dog papers. You know what I mean? Like, all this is just dog papers. You know what I mean? Different registries to ABKC, to UKC, to ABR, to USB. It's just so many dog regs. You know what I mean? Just a lot, my friend. A lot. You know what I mean? But I want to get deep into this, man. On a serious note, you know what I mean? Some people have a hard trouble on signing this. You know what I mean? They don't know what to do and stuff like that. So I want to go through with it. Let's say you buy a dog, right? You buy a dog for someone. Excuse me. In the back, it's gonna say seller's signature. You know what I mean? You want the seller to sign it right there. You know what I mean? Basically, he's selling the dog to you. You want him to sign it right there. You know what I mean? You got date of purchase. And you could put that if you want. You got a new ownership right there. You know what I mean? If y'all doing a co-own or anything else, you know what I mean? You can write it right there. That's where it says new co-own owner. Right here, the new owner's mailing address. That's where you put your address at. Your city, your state, your zip code, the country, your phone number. You know what I mean? And let's say if you do have a new ownership, partnership. You know what I mean? Right here would be the mailing address and stuff like that. This is his information right there. The city, states, zip code, phone number, and the dog name would be at the bottom. You know what I mean? The dog's name would be at the bottom. So let's say you fill all this out, right? That's basically your information and stuff like that. And if you got a co-owner, then on the other side right here, the payment registry of a dog right here, you could choose if the dog is up to 1 year old, the dog is past years old, a year or past, you're gonna be paying more. You know what I mean? You took long. I'm just saying, you just took long. You know what I mean? So basically, the past year would be like $30. All right, this is my first time doing this registry. No, this is my second time doing this registry. I usually do ABR because my dogs are exotics. You know what I mean? This is a pocket dog that I have. You know what I mean? Well, you want to say micro pocket. She's a pocket. You know what I mean? That I have, and this is the latest paperwork that I have not sent in, that I'm going to send in. So I just wanted to show y'all. But yeah, so the dog is over a year old. So basically, I'll be paying more. I'll be paying instead of the dog being younger than a year, I would have been paying $30. But the dog is over a year, so I'm paying $40. You know what I mean? A $10 difference. So basically, I will pick 40. Boom, right? And at the bottom, let's say if I wanted 2-day shipping. 2-day shipping is gonna be an extra $50. 2-day shipping. Now, if you want to progress it to 1 to 10 business days, it will be only $25. So basically $25 more for, you know what I mean? You want that. I want my papers quick. I don't know about you. I don't want to be waiting. So let me tell you something about this. They say is one day to 10 day business days. 1 to 10 business days, right? They say that. So now you don't know how many people is waiting for this. You don't know how many people sent their papers in before you. You don't know that. So at the end of the day, you got to think like, all right, so if I do that, it's going to get there like, let's say 12 days the most. Get there like in 12 days, right? And with getting there in 12 days, who's in front of me? You know what I mean? It could be 20 people in front of you. You know, they're not going to get to your paperwork. They're not going to get to your paperwork until they take care of them. So your paperwork could come in 2 months later, 3 months later, 4 months later, 5 months later. Yo, it was time that my UKC paperwork, that shit came 6 months later. Cause I did the regular shipping. I ain't do the, what was it? It was the 2 days FedEx. I ain't do that. You know what I mean? So it took long. Cause you want to, there's no such thing as overnight. They're not gonna do that overnight. Cause if you send it, they get it, you're still not gonna get it overnight. You know what I mean? So that's why they got the 2 days, the 2 days shipping right there, the FedEx. You know what I mean? So you don't know how many people's ahead of you. So you don't want to do that 1 to 10 days, you know what I mean, business days. You don't want to do that. I'm just letting you know right now from my experience, you don't want to do that. You know what I mean? I waited for 6 months for my paperwork. You feel me? And I thought I filled it out wrong because that was in the beginning. That was in the beginning of when I first started breeding. So I thought I filled it out wrong. You don't want to do that. Long story short, you don't want to do that. Just pick the 2 day, pay the extra $25. Just pick it. It's gonna be worth it. You know what I mean? It's like they put those people first. Let's say I put a 10 day. I put 1 to 10 day business days, and then somebody else put a 2 day shipping. He's gonna jump ahead of me. They're gonna take care of him first. You know what I mean? It's all about the money, my friend. It's all about the money. You know what I mean? They're gonna put him first. I'm just letting you know right now. You're gonna be waiting for your paperwork. You know what I mean? So right there, that's that. So that's the 2 day shipping for FedEx, right? To get over there quick. And then right here, they say a rush feed. Let's see what this rush feed is. The rush fee would be $25. Progress with is 1 to 10 days business days once they receive the mail in the back first class mail. Okay. So this paperwork is different. So it's an additional 25. It's an additional 25 for them to do the rush mail. All right, that's different. Yeah, that should be different right there, my friend. ABKC is not like, ABR is not like that. You know what I mean? So that's that right there. So now they got a ABKC binder. I don't know what this binder is. $55, us only. I never did that before. I don't know about no binder. I'm sorry, I can't give you info on that. I'm pretty sure somebody else know info, or you could go on YouTube. You can search that up. What's a binder? I really don't know. I think it's maybe just like a little folder and stuff like that, ABKC folder, you know what I mean? So you could put all your paperwork in. It's probably one of those, you know what I mean? It's probably one of those. I got a UKC one if I'm not mistaken. Full breeding rights, you know what I mean? Sold with full breeding rights. Of course, you're gonna check that. Of course, if you're breeding her, you're gonna check that. And if you sending these papers in, of course you're breeding, you know what I mean? So you check that full breeding rights. 20th anniversary pedigree. 20th pedigree. I don't know what that means, my friend. I'm a little confused myself. Okay? No, I'm serious. I don't know what that means. Hold on, let me get a sippity sip sip. Sippity sip 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 sip. So the 20th anniversary, I don't know what that means. You know what I mean? I never did that before. It says 20th anniversary pedigree. 20th anniversary pedigree for $5. It's a limited supply while they last. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. I'm sorry again. I'm sorry. I never did that right there. And right here at the bottom it say PDF file for $15 extra. You know what I mean? That's it. It'll be an email to your it'll be an email, a copy of your registry. They're gonna email a copy of your registry. I'll take that. I'm doing that. You know what I mean? So let's say if I was to sign this paper right now, all my information will be right here, right? And then of course she's over a year, so that's $40 for me, right? And then I'm doing the 2-day shipping for FedEx so it could get over there quick. You know what I mean? So that's a $50. That's $90 so far right there. And then I'm doing the rush fee so it could come back quick. You know what I mean? That's another $25 right there. So what I said right here, I said 90. That's gonna be 100. That's 115 right there so far. And then we going down. I don't want no binder. I'm good, my friend. I have my own binder. You know what I mean? So I'm skipping that 55. We at 115 right now. You know what I mean? Fruit breeding rights. Okay, you check that. And then the 20th anniversary pedigree. I'm gonna just do it. It's $5. You know what I mean? So now I'm a $1.20 right now. That's light cheese. And I need that PD file. I want that PD file to my email. You want that. You know what I mean? So that's an extra $15. So what? I'm paying $135. And I'm signing this paper and I'm sending it in. You could do a money order. I believe they're going to want a money order. Definitely. You'll send a money order with this. And like I said, within like 10 days, they should see it and send it back. See it and send it back. You know what I mean? 10 days max, it should be. It shouldn't be past 10 days. But it got to be business days. You know what I mean? So if you send it on Monday, give it to like next Monday or... No, that's 7. Give it to like next week Wednesday, next week Friday or some shit like that. You know what I mean? So that's how you sign paperwork. And that's a ABKC. You know what I mean? I haven't signed an ABKC in so long. It was so long. I think my last ABKC was for Chula. And Chula was my first bull. Like, that was a long time ago because I done switched to the exotics. You know what I mean? I went to the exotics. So, like, so let me tell y'all a little story how I first bought my first bull. So, I just wanted to jump in the bully game, man. I seen this dog. Shout out to Trey. I seen his dog for the first time. I had pits. I always had pits. I had pits since I was 7 years old. I had my first litter when I was 8 years old. And it wasn't even planned. You know, they just do their thing. It gets stuck. You know what I mean? She was having a litter like every 6 months or less. No lie. Like, she was pregnant all the time. You know what I mean? It was crazy. It was weird. You know what I mean? So, long story short, I used to give those dogs out through the whole hood. I used to live in Brooklyn. And the whole block had one of my dogs, man. No lie. Like, we had this dog, it was called Pupe, and this other dog was called Blanca. That's crazy. That's crazy. I got Blanca over there. That's crazy. That's crazy. I didn't even know that. You know what I mean? But Blanca was my mom's dogs, and Pupe was my pops. You know what I mean? And those two dogs, they used to make puppies all the time, bro. No lie. He had built a dog house for them in the backyard. And every time we went to go clean, whatever, we found puppies in there, bro. We really found puppies in there. Like, it was just crazy. I was small. I was young, man. For real, I was young. All I remember is me giving dogs out. No lie, like, just giving out dogs to the whole neighborhood. But anyways, long story short, I was big on pits. You know what I mean? I had a pit for like 5 years. When I first moved out here. Very, very big on pits. So it was one time she was in heat. And I had hit the bro up, you know what I mean? I knew him when I first moved out here. I had hit him up. He had dogs. I seen that he had dogs. And I was like, yo, his dog's fire. So I went to go see him in person. And that really just, it blew my mind. You know what I mean? He was nice, like, brolic. I think he was a pocket. He was brolic, bro. And I was like, yo, look at that structure. You know what I mean? And like, I mean, that's fire. Like, I want something like, what kind of dog is that? And then he told me, and then that's when I started doing my research. I did my research. You know what I mean? And I ran into Chula. Chula was she was like, let's say she was like a standard. She wasn't, she was a standard. She wasn't really a pocket. She was a standard. You know what I mean? Her mom's was champion blood. You feel me? And they didn't compete with Chula. They didn't put her to compete because she had like a little hip problem. If I'm not mistaken, she had a hip problem. I can't remember. You know what I mean? But it was times that sometimes she'd start limping on her back leg. If I'm not mistaken, and it wasn't all the time. It was just here and there. It was weird. But long story short, I was like, yeah, I want that dog. Her headpiece was crazy. You know what I mean? She had a crazy headpiece. That was the most beautiful thing of her body, the headpiece. You know what I mean? Her body was, it was lacking. Her body was lacking. You know what I mean? Now that I know about dogs, like I could point out what the dog is lacking on. You know what I mean? I got a bunch of exotics. If you know exotics, they got high rears. Some of them got EC Westies. Like, you know what I mean? It's to create the best exotic. You're not gonna do it overnight. You know what I mean? You're not gonna do that overnight to create the best exotic. I'm just letting you know right now. Hold on. Light and sweet, baby. You know what I mean? One sugar. You know what I mean? One scoop of sugar. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. So I got Chula. I bought her from Ohio. I went to Ohio and I got her. You know what I mean? Yeah, Chula, like she needed a lot of work. You know what I mean? She was very scared. She scared of everything. You know what I mean? So I put a lot of work behind that, and meaning that she was my first bull. You know what I mean? I worked with her every day. You know what I mean? To get her confidence up, because she was so scared. She didn't even want to walk. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't want to walk. At one point, I had to carry her to the car, carry her out. Like, she was very scared. I don't know what she went through, but she was scared. But yeah, that was my first bull, man, and she was like a stander, and I didn't know. I didn't know about bullies here and there. You know what I mean? So what I did, as I was training with her, I was good at training dogs. You know what I mean? So as I was training with her, I kept searching, and that's when I ran into Big Bad Bullies. Shout out to the brother. I ran into him on Instagram, and I see he had a litter, and that was Fuego. He had Fuego as a puppy, man, and I just fell in love with Fuego, man. The blue, because I always wanted a blue pit. You know what I mean? I always wanted a blue pit. I always had a red-nosed pit. Always had a red-nosed pit. Every time. Always. No matter what pit I had, it was a red-nose. I had over 30 pits. You know, not at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about back to back. You know what I mean? I had mad pits. And I always wanted a blue pit. You feel me? So, Fuego, he was blue. You know what I mean? He was blue, and I fell in love with Fuego, man. You feel me? And that right there, I put a lot of. We even drove to Baltimore for Fuego. You know what I mean? Like, got him. Like, he was my boy. You know what I mean? Shout out to Isa. You know what I mean? So, long story short, like, I put my time to Fuego and Chula. They were just right there, man. And I was like, yo, this is gonna be my first litter. So here's one thing with this. So I didn't know what I knew what kind of structure Fuego had and stuff like that, the way he was muscled up, the way he grew up to have muscle and all that, you know what I mean? Like, I kept him running up and down the steps. That works. I'm just letting y'all know. That works. He did over 150 steps every day. I'm talking about every day. So I put so much work into him, you know what I mean, to pop out what his genetics, because you gotta call it genetics, you know what I mean? You can't feed a dog to get a dog where he's at. You know, the best you could do is keep his weight up and let his genetics take over from there. You know what I mean? That's just a fact. So he grew up to be a monster, you know what I mean? And he was on the micro side. I didn't know the difference between a micro or pocket or exotic or a nano or an XL or a standard or a classic. I didn't know the difference between none of that. You know what I mean? I'm learning. So as I go, I'm asking questions of Big Bad Bullies. You know what I mean? He was like my mentor. You feel me? Low key. He was putting me on, but he was making me research. You know what I mean? Like, he was telling me, but he wasn't giving me all the sauce. You know what I mean? And that's what I respect about him. You feel me? He'd be like, nah, bro, you got to do your research yourself. You got to do it. You know what I mean? He would put me on, but he would make sure he'd tell me, you got to do your research, though. You know what I mean? There's more to that. You feel me? And that made me research every day. I started trying to learn pedigrees. It's still hard to learn pedigrees to this day. You know what I mean? But you do got to know the pedigree to your dogs. You know what I mean? You want to know that. Yeah, bro. So I started doing research. I did a lot of research. That's when I ran into breeders hacks. I ran into breeders hacks, and there was a couple of other dogs there. The Frenchie guy, the old Frenchy guy, you know what I mean? Like I keep forgetting his name. But him, he showed me a lot. Between them two, I learned a lot. And then I ran into CB Kennels. I started watching CB Kennels a lot. You know what I mean? And from watching the CB Kennels, I got into exotics. You know what I mean? I got into exotics. I started watching exotics. I'm like, yo, they're a little smaller, you know what I mean? The snout's a little closed. Fuego's snout was there, you know what I mean? Don't get it wrong, but he was a micro. He was really clean. He was really clean. You know what I mean? Muscled up, very active. You feel me? And I was looking at CB Kennel's dogs, and I'm like, yo, them dogs is different. You know what I mean? And then I started doing more research. Excuse me. And then I started, you know what I mean, looking at more and more and more. And then that's where I find out what was an exotic, what was a micro. I started learning all that. And that's when I got John Doe from him. You know what I mean? I got John Doe from him. John Doe's a straight exotics. So I started the real reason why I wanted John Doe was because he ain't had no tail. I don't know. It was something about a dog with no tail. I wanted it. I wanted it. I don't know. It was just me. I just wanted a dog with no tail, and John Doe was available, and I jumped on it, man. I was working overtime a lot back then. You know what I mean? So I was always good at saving money, because John Doe was a bag. John Doe was a real big bag. You know what I mean? And I got John Doe. You know what I mean? So right now I got John Doe, Fuego, and Chula. And that's who I had. And I was like, damn, I gotta get John Doe a female. You know what I mean? I had got this pocket. I forgot her father was well known. He was well known. You know what I mean? I just can't remember his name, but I got this pocket from Arkansas, and she was just she got aggressive on me, and I didn't like aggressive dogs. You know what I mean? I didn't like that, so I returned them back. You know what I mean? We were supposed to work out some deal right there, but that was one of the times I got shitted on. You feel me? I lost at least 25 to 30K right there. You know what I mean? Like, she was a bad bitch, but her temper, well, it was just not it from where I was living at, and having a newborn, and then having dogs. You know what I mean? Like, not really like not knowing this breed like that. Like, she was just aggressive. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. So I returned her back. And then that's when I bought Chiquita. I bought Chiquita from my brother. We drove for Chiquita to Pittsburgh. We got Chiquita from Pittsburgh. Rest in peace, Chiquita. You know what I mean? And I was like, I bet. So Chula's gonna be for Fuego, and Chiquita's gonna be for John Doe. You know what I mean? Chiquita was a nice exotic also. So, you know what I mean? And that was my planned breedings right there. You feel me? And I stuck to the vision. That's what happened. I stuck to the vision. You know what I mean? I got my first litter with Chula and Fuego. You know what I mean? That was very close. You know what I mean? I almost missed that, because Chula had a silent heat. Fuego caught it. You know what I mean? He was humping through the cage. He was going crazy. He like, yes, it's my time. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, so I just didn't know the difference between a micro and a standard and stuff like that. You don't want to do that. You know what I mean? You don't want to do that. You don't want to do things like that. Because depending on the blood, like Chula was more tight. She was more tight end. So if you was to go to her pedigree, you will see her mom's there a few times. You know what I mean? So she's going to lock that look in. She was a champion blood. She's going to lock that in. You know what I mean? So she locked that in on all the puppies. You know what I mean? So with Fuego, just, you know what I mean? He was devil spit, yeah, but he wasn't locked in like 2 times, 3 times, 4 times devil spit. He wasn't like that. You know what I mean? So he didn't lock his look in on all the puppies. You feel me? So basically, Chula took over that litter. You know what I mean? We got a look-alike Fuego, but Chula's body, you know what I mean? She was just so strong, you know what I mean? She took over that litter right there. You feel me? That's what happens when, you know what I mean? When they, like, it's just so tight. The blood is so tight, with her mother being on almost every pedigree. You feel me? Like, that, I had to learn that too. You know what I mean? That's something you gotta learn too. So long story short, like, it didn't come out as planned how I wanted it, but I was very excited. I was happy, man. I did that. You know what I mean? Like, wow. You know what I mean? I completed it. Like, I said what I was gonna do and I did it, and that felt good. That was a beautiful feeling. You know what I mean? It was a beautiful feeling. I blessed a couple of families. You know what I mean? Like, it was nice. I loved it. I loved the feeling. So I kept going. I kept going. You feel me? I didn't stop. I kept going. With the John Doe Chiquita litter, that was basically my second litter. And from my second litter, I was like, yeah, I want to turn this to a business. I want to put this under a LLC. Like, I love this feeling, you know what I mean? But with John Doe and Chiquita, I lost 4 puppies. Now, let me tell you a little bit about that. Those 4 puppies I lost, it was like awakening, you know what I mean? It was so easy to whelp Chula's puppies. It was so easy to whelp. She was a lot of help, you know what I mean? And Chula was grown. She was already 2 years old when she had her first puppies, you know what I mean? She was grown. She helped a lot, you know what I mean? It was very easy. But long story short, I lost 4 puppies with Chiquita. You feel me? It was different. It was different. The puppies needed, they needed to be, you had to be more in hand with them, you know what I mean? Because they were gasping and stuff like that. I didn't know what was going on, you know what I mean? I didn't know that I had a puppy there that wasn't eating, and one puppy grew a lump right here in the neck. I didn't know none of that, you feel me? I didn't know what was going on. I was trying to get to the vet. The vet wasn't around. He was on vacation. Like, it was hard. It was hard, you know what I mean? Like, I really didn't know what I was doing. I failed. I felt like I failed them, you know what I mean? To not have all the knowledge. I had everything I needed. I had everything I needed, you know what I mean? But I didn't have the knowledge, you know what I mean? And I failed them, you feel me? They got dehydrated. They got dehydrated on me. I didn't know how to tube feed. I was trying to tube feed. I didn't know how to do it. I was doing it wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it was my fault. It's my fault those puppies went, you know what I mean? And I told myself the next time, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure these puppies are right. I started doing my research. So only 4 puppies survived from there. You know what I mean? 4 puppies survived from there. It was Blanco, 8-Ball, Shadow, and damn, I forgot the other one's name. He's in North Carolina. I forgot his name. Rico. They called him Rico. Those 4 survived, you know what I mean? I lost 4. You know what I mean? I told myself, you know, I'm gonna do everything I can next time, man. You know what I mean? Do my best to make sure that don't happen again. And from this day forward, I have been, you know what I mean? I just wanted to give y'all a little background story. You feel me? I ain't mean for this video to be this long. But yeah, man, that's how I started, man. I took losses, you know what I mean? I got wins, losses, wins, losses. You know what I mean? It's an experience. You know what I mean? It's a learning experience. You gotta learn. You gotta go with it. You know what I mean? But the first thing you want to do is make sure your dogs are healthy before you even start anything. You know what I mean? I could give y'all more input. I could give y'all more advice. I could show y'all what y'all need for your puppies, or show you what you need for your dogs. You know what I mean? Just leave it in the comment below. You know what I mean? And I'll make a video of it, man. I'll make a video of it. That any way I could help, I'll make a video of it with my experience. You know, I can't talk for someone else. You feel me? I can't talk for someone else. But yeah, man. With the paperwork, like I said, you could go online too. I say online is easier. You know what I mean? Online is way easier. For me, online is easier. Instead of taking out a money order too, instead of taking out a money order, you go online and you can just pay with your card. You know what I mean? That's what makes it easy also. But yeah, man, go register your dogs, man. It's nothing to it. Save a little money. If you ain't got $140, though, you shouldn't be breeding. I'm just letting you know right now, respectfully. If you ain't got $140 or whatever the paperwork is gonna come out to, $170. There's one time I spent $170 because I wanted the eight pedigree. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get 4, you could get 6, you could get 8. I wanted 8 to find out what was behind. You know what I mean? The dogs. You know what I mean? I think I got Russia for 8, if I'm not mistaken. Recipes Russia. I wanted to find out what was her pedigree. You feel? Excuse me. You know, you feel me? So if you ain't got $140, man, you shouldn't be breeding. I'm just letting you know right now, respectfully. You feel me? That's the end of that. You know what I mean? But any questions, man, put it below. You know what I mean? Anything you think I missed, put it below. You know what I mean? Like, comment, subscribe. Y'all tú sabes.